Welcome to the second season of the Deployment Dojo. This is the second episode of a live show where we introduce and discuss software installation topics to make you a better setup ninja. I'm your host, Rob Menching, and joining me today is my good friend and co-maintainer of the Wix toolset, Bob Arnson. Bob, how are you?
I'm doing okay for a Wednesday.
All right, that's great. David was called off on business, so I asked Bob if he could jump in at the last minute and run this show with me, and he was very happy to oblige. Maybe putting a little more emotion into it than he was, but we're going to pick up where we left off last month. And those of you that watched the video last week, or in the last week, the replay, hopefully you got to catch up on all the content. Bob, I didn't ask you, did you watch the episode?
Yeah, you should have asked me that before you started the stream. I
I knew
did
you'd be able
not,
to keep up.
actually.
I
Well,
wasn't worried.
we'll see. We'll see. It's actually kind of interesting. MSBuild, I have way too much experience with it, but I still find myself, in the keyboard smashing approach sometimes. It,
Yeah. You're not alone in the I just have to make this work. When do you spend the time to really understand how MS Build works?
yeah.
So
Well,
that's why we're doing
there
this.
are esoteric areas that make perfect sense once you understand the model better.
Yes. Like when I first got started, as I mentioned in the last episode, I was completely bamboozled the difference between properties and items and the fact that properties were resolved before items were. And once
Hmm.
that made sense to me, a whole lot more started holding together.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about how we start putting those together. So today we're going to pick up where we left off. We like these first few episodes are, as I've said, all about the fundamentals. We talked about properties, we talked about items, and we talked about targets and how those all interacted with inside a project. So we're going to go back to the beginning because I like these first few episodes to always start from scratch so everybody remembers how to do this. Eventually, we'll get to a point where maybe we'll check some code in and build on episode after episode, but we haven't done anything that interesting yet it doesn't take me more than a minute or two to write the code. So let's go in and let's dig in deeper on targets. Bob, ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, here we are. Command prompt, just like we always are. Let me boost this up a little bit so it's not on top of my camera. And here we go. We start with project files. How relevant was last month's for today? Very relevant, Zach. And property and item functions, we're a little ways away from those. Zach's been reading ahead in the material. Great to have all of you here. Man, we have a nice, good lobby here with 23 Kimmy, Bert, Eugene, Martin, and Zach. This is great to have all you guys here. It's a lot more fun having you people in chat with me because this is a live show. We bounce off of each other. I'm still trying to figure out where I want to put chat in all the windows I have. And right now you're in the corner and I miss things. All right, let's get into it. Let's create our first little file. So I have open code inside this directory. I will create a project file, an actual project file. We'll stick with proj. One thing I want to clarify from last week, I said any project that ends in .proj. It's actually anything that ends in proj, which is why CS proj, Wix proj, VCX proj, or just .proj. All of those things will be picked up as project files by MSBuild out of the gate. So let's put our project together here. And because we almost always need them, let's give ourselves a property group. And IntelliSense is only so good. And yeah, we'll call it value A. No, not value A. We'll call it, we'll just call it A for short. Value of A. And I still have never gotten over my discomfort, the fact that there's no schema for any of this. You can't do a schema because you define a property by creating a element of the name of the property you want, A, underneath the property group, and poof, you have a property. Can't create a schema for that because you can name your properties whatever you want, but they're all elements. All right, that's a property. Let's go ahead give ourselves an item as well. And we'll call this item B. And we will include something into it because this is how we create items. And we'll call it foo.text for now. And there we go. So now we have an item or a property A and an item B. And to do anything useful, we create a target called foo. And no, not foo. What did I say? Well, foo will work for now. And inside this, we will do a task that we will run called message to do something useful, as in print out the text of the property A. We dereference it with the syntax A. So if you did your homework, you've been over this a few times. We did a lot of these. The dereference of properties is A. And Bob, how do you dereference an item?
At.
Correct. That would have been more of a test, I think, for David, as he's done far less of this, but he's off somewhere in the world doing actual work as opposed to hanging out with me. Okay.
Well, it did take me several seconds, and you gave a little bit of warning, so I was
Yeah, you're not going to get a lot of warning. All right. Because I named this a .proj file, I can just type MSBuild inside the same directory, the Dojo Season 2, Episode 2 directory. When I type MSBuild, it will load up our project file. It will find that we have a property, find that we have an item, and then it'll run our target called foo and spit out our message foo, hey, A, the value of A, and B, our foo.text. All right, cool. And Zach says it will pick up .msbuild files as well. So let's try MSBuild because I'm curious if this works. I've never tried this before. MSBuild. No, did not like that. But I could call this a Dojo proj, for example, because, hey, we're in the Dojo. Why not? Do an MSBuild, and boom, it still finds it. So you could prefix it with whatever you want. I've not tested how many characters you could put before it, but clearly you could put at least 4. We do Wix proj for Wix projects, so there you go. All right, I'm going to drop this back to Dojo proj and call it good. Okay, there we go. We're right back where we left off last time. Now, you could imagine having a build system that you want to, like, build all your code, do a whole bunch of pre-processing, do a whole bunch of generating resource files, hey, go get all your project reference, figure all that stuff. If you were to have to put all that inside one target, you could end up with a very, very, very large target. And you'd have to get everything ordered inside that. Because as we've seen with targets from last week, that targets are very order specific, as in we can switch the order of our items and our properties, and no matter what order we put them in, properties are evaluated first, items are evaluated second. However, inside a target, they are evaluated in order. So if we switch the order of these messages here, or these these messages, and we run our command, I'm going to add importance equals high because that makes them brighter, just in case people are having troubles with the dark text. I have switched the messages inside our target. I have set MSBuild, and now B is first and A is second. So the order inside here matters a lot. And if I then take my properties out of being defined in the global space, and I specify it after the message that is going to use it, we're going to expect the A to have no value. Clear screen, build. Notice the A does not have value. So inside a target, everything is very ordered. So you can create very large targets with every single part in there ordered. They can get really, really large. And that's frustrating.
If you put the messages after the property group inside the target, will that do
Here?
what we expect? Yeah.
So, like that? Then yes, this will do the correct thing because targets are very specific about the order they evaluate the elements inside them, and now the value of A is back. And of course, as we saw last week, the thing that caught me for the longest time, this works as well. Even property defined after everything will work because, again, properties are loaded first, then items at the global scope, and then everything inside the targets are executed. Okay?
That's a little bit of voodoo.
Well, I'm beating the horse here a little bit, mostly because I want to make sure that this sticks, because I've seen this trip people up so much. Okay, let me put these back in the order that I want. Now, what I'm hinting at is that having one target with everything inside it can get a little bit messy. So wouldn't it be nice if we could have multiple targets? And you can. So I could create another target here. Target name equals bar. I'm actually going to name these things. I'm actually going to name this. I'm just going to call it A. No, I'm not going to call it A because I already have a thing called A. Target A. And I'm going to call this target B. Very, very creative. I'm going to put the B in this target. Okay. So what do you think happens if I run this now? So I now have two targets inside my one project. The first one, target A, will print out the A message, and the target B will print out the message of the B items.
Well, can we go back just a second?
Absolutely.
What triggers target A to run? Because I just realized when you were asking about the order that there's nothing that calls target A.
You're right. And thus the question I had when there were two of them.
Right, right.
So clearly MSBuild was happy to run the target that was in the project when there's one. What does it do when there are two?
And in what order?
What does it do? Well, here's an easy way to find out. We'll run it. It runs the first target that it finds. Okay, so it ran target A, target B is hanging out in here. That's fine. There's target B. I'm going to switch the order. I'm going to put target B earlier in the project file and target A later in the project. And I run it again, and now it prints out target B. And you're like, how do I get it to run both targets? If you want that, for example, right?
But does that mean that the first target it's find is now a privileged target that always gets run?
The first target that it finds is the one that it runs. That's correct.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Well, the good thing is you don't have to decide because they made the decision for you.
Yeah, well.
All right. Let's take some control because I can hear Bob is grappling with the lack of control in his life right now. There is a command line switch you can pass to MSBuild called -T. When you have multiple targets, or if you only have one target, you can explicitly tell it which one you want to run. So I could say, run target A, please. And it now will print out, or run target A, which prints us out our value of A. All right. If I take it off again and I run it, we go back to B. All right. So target A and because they're very helpful, I can do multiple of them, except this is a PowerShell. So I have to remember how to escape this. No, that's not it. My lack of PowerShell skills is coming in. I hope this is right. I have a feeling this is not. You can semicolon eliminate them. But in PowerShell, you can see here I've used the semicolon as the basically and operator, like run multiple commands. I think this will work. Let's run it. This is actually a PowerShell question. You can specify multiple commands by passing the semicolon. Hey, you got it. Now notice it said target A, value A, target B, value B. Also notice that it ran them in the order that I specified on the command line, target A, target B, not the order that they're inside the target file or in the project file. So if I switch the order here, I'm explicitly running targets from the command line. Now it runs target B and then target A the other way around. Okay? Now you feel like you have a little more control, Bob? You can like say, hey, I want to run this specific target.
Yeah, I'm still stuck on the fact that MSBuild is doing what it's doing. But
the first target is the one it wants?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it makes sense, right? If you have a target in your project, you definitely want it to run.
Right. Because the alternative is to run all of them. That would be one option. That would be kind of crazy if you have many of them. The other option is to run the last one. That's an option. Another option is to run none of them and say, hey, you have to tell me which one you want to run.
Well, that is how it used to work for the most part. In the era before MSBuild SDKs, right? Because there's an attribute default target, I think.
Well, that's what I'm going to talk about next. You're
Oh,
jumping ahead on
okay.
me, but very good.
All right.
All right. So what Bob was getting to was that if you want and Eugene's jumping ahead too. Very good, Eugene. Eugene's asking a very good question. Can you run a target twice? We will talk about that. But let's say you want to control the order of the targets, but for whatever reason you want to, organize your code, your project file like this, where target B and target A are in here, but you want to run target A by default. Well, turns out there is an attribute on this that you can specify target A, right? And so then when I run this, it now runs A, even though B is the first one. So if I take the default targets out and I run it again, B is a target. I could do default targets. It runs that. And just like the command line, I can specify both of them. If I want both of them to run, it will now run both of them by putting semicolon. All right.
And in any order.
And I can switch the order, semicolon delineating them, delineating them, and it will then run B and then A.
Got it.
And I can, if I want, override what the default is by specifying on the command line and saying, just run target A. So if we go all the way back, without a default targets, the first target is run. Or if there is default targets, it specifies which targets are run for this project. And if you want to make sure you're getting the right target run, then you can specify on your command line which target you want to run, targets you want to run by using -t : and then a semicolon to limit a list of targets. Cool.
Does the target named build have any special privilege?
Target name build. No, there is no target name build.
Okay.
I know a lot of people are like, wait, MSBuild does building. Is build a special target? No, it's just a convention, something that we use, things that we expect. But we're operating down here in the low-level building blocks of MSBuild. We're not actually using it to build anything. Clearly, we're using it to spit out messages, which is not useful as a build system, but extremely useful for testing and learning, which is where we're at right now. So no, there's nothing special about the build. Now, this is something that I discovered this morning by accident. If you're wondering what targets are available to specify in -t, it turns out MSBuild will happily tell you if you run MSBuild-targets. Target B and target A, and it found them in order. That was really cool. I didn't know it would do that. All right. Kind of neat.
I imagine if you have a fuller build system like a CS Proj, that's going to print all the targets available from.
Yep. All right. We'll get to that.
Targets.
But yes, that in bigger project files, you get a lot more targets that you can see,
Right.
Including a whole lot of internal ones. Let's come back to that. Okay. So are we all on the same page on this very fundamental, like, first target, second target? These all live in the spaces. Cool?
Nice.
This is the order they run in. Cool? Yes? Yes, Bob?
I'm there.
All right, cool. Okay, now, you don't normally do build systems where you specify the exact order between targets because that gets really complicated to deal with pretty fast. You're like, okay, first I need you to do this thing, and then this thing, and then this thing, and then this thing. What you'd rather say is, I'd like you to do something like build, and then have that target know all of the other targets that it needs to run. And it turns out, MSBuild being a build engine can do exactly that. So I'm going to take the default targets off for a second. We're going to go back to when we run this with no command line. It's only running B. Okay. Now, let's say that we need target B to also, before it runs, do whatever target A has to do. All right. In fact, let's make it actually, let's up the stakes a little bit here and actually make target A do something. Target A should now define the item group B. All right. So if we run target B right now, the output of it for item B will not have been set outside of a target. And if we don't run target A, the item group's not going to get run. So if we run it, we get B with a blank line, right? Because I took the item group that used to be global and I put it inside target A. Target A didn't run, only target B ran. Therefore, our item group was not defined or had no values in it. So it was empty when we print out our message. That's what we'd expect, right?
Yep.
All right. So B needs A. B depends on target A. Please, I'm going to bring this down over here and do that. We'll see how nice I keep my spacing for a while here. So what does this say? This says, hey, when you're on target B, make sure to run target A because that happens to be, in this case, the thing that sets item B. And if you don't, then I print out no message. So let's go ahead and run it.
Depends on targets is going to run target A first.
And it runs target A first. So you can see now my default target is target B, so it ran target B. Target B needed target A, so it ran target A. Target A printed out its message and set up the item group such that, hey, target B now has foo.text in it. Now when target B runs, A is run, the item A is run before it, always. Oh, target B. So if I, just to be clear, I'm going to explicitly run only target B, and it's still going to run target A because it depends on it.
Right.
And if we say, hey, run target C, I don't do this very often. I say run target B, it tells me, hey, the target C does not exist. You can't run that. Okay, cool. So if you make a mistake when your depends on, it will tell you that it's missing. All right. So this ends up being the way that you can start structuring your targets such that they all layer on top of each other and do the right thing. Now, let's go ahead and create another target. One. We're going to call it target 1 because I kind of boxed myself in the corner. I need a letter before A. And I'm going to define the property inside this target. So now I need target A to run after target 1 and target B to run after target A because that's how these properties and items are being set. This is kind of a strange thing to do. If you could just set your items and properties global, go ahead and do that. But there are cases where you have a target, its whole purpose is to set items or to do work that sets items or do work that set properties, and then you call them. So this happens a lot, even though this is fairly contrived, but it works fine. So depends on targets. Thank you for the autocomplete. Target 1. All right, so target B, target A, target 1. Target B depends on target A. Target A depends on target 1. Target 1 runs right here. Let's clear and run our default target, which will run B. And if we run it, we get no target 1. Target 1's not here, yet we have the value of A. What just happened? If I take this out, and I don't have my dependency, and I run it again, I don't have value of A. So now target 1's not being run. But if I put the depends on back, it runs, but it's not listed here.
If you added a message, would it show up?
What's that?
If you added a message, would it show up?
Yes. If I add a message, it will show up. So, as we were discussing in your build system, there are probably many targets being run as part of your build command, and you will not see them all listed in this output from MSBuild unless they happen to have some visible output that they do, like what I just did by adding a message. So if we remove this message here, and we take this message A and we put it all the way up here in B. So now B is the only thing that has messages, but B will call A to set item B, and A will call target 1 to set property A. So then A and B are set by calling these targets. All right. Now clear and build. Now we only have target B putting out any information. Target A and target 1 are both run, but they're not visible. Okay.
Now, how much of this is just the default logging in MSBuild?
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever seen it pop up, and we'll talk about logging in more detail in the future.
Yeah.
but I don't want people to be confused. Like, hey, my target's not showing up anywhere. It was showing up for Rob. Well, it's because I put printf messages all over the place, which causes things to show up. And if you run -targets here, you will see that we have target B, target A, and target 1. Okay.
And the depends on targets values don't influence the sort order there, do they?
They don't. In fact, I was going to do that next. Let's take target 1, put it at the top. Let's take target A, put it next here, just because this honestly feels like a slightly better order, right? And if I run this, what would happen right now? Any guesses?
Oh, for -targets or for the...
For the build. All right. We'll do targets first.
Oh, it'll be the...
Yeah, so, all right. So Eugene and you are both asking for targets. If we run the targets, they're now spit out in the order they show up inside our file.
Okay. They're always spit out in that order.
They are spit out in the order that MSBuild found them.
Yep, okay.
There you go. A1B, because I put A above target 1. All right. Now, if I run this build, what do we expect to see?
Just target B.
No, nothing. Because it only runs target 1. Target 1 sets a property and does nothing else.
Right.
All right. So I like this order. Yeah, see, Eugene caught it. We're a little bit ahead of him in the stream, but that is correct. Default targets. I'm going to set default targets to target B. All right. So now when we run the command line from the scratch, it'll run target B by default. Right. And notice now, technically speaking, target A doesn't depend on target 1 anymore because target A just sets this item. So it doesn't need to depend on target 1, but target B does. So what do you do if target B depends on multiple targets? Well, that's fine. You just listen here. Target 1. Okay. And I can now do this. So we've set our default target to B. We remove the dependency from A to target 1. So these guys no longer call each other. And now target A and target 1. If we do a build, ta-da, we have our value of A, our foo.text are both set, and everything is working. And you're like, oh, but which order did they run? And that's a fine question. So let's go ahead and do printf debugging. Target A was here. Target 1 is here. All right, cool. So now we've added printfs. They'll now show up. Do a clear screen build. We're going to build target B because it is the default target. It will call us dependencies. And what order do we think the dependencies are running in?
A1B.
Say that again?
A1B.
A1B.
Explicitly as ordered.
I was thinking A1 steak sauce. No, sorry. A1B. And you're right. It is. Target A runs, target 1 runs, and target B then has the value of both of them because these items were set. And if I change the order here, B controls the order that it runs the targets in. Target 1, target A, target B. Okay? So what we're finding is that you can generally, in most places, especially when it's plural, put a semicolon delimited list of targets to run by default. Okay? And then you can, which allows you to then make sure that the order is done in the way that you want. So you can say, I want target 1 before target A. You can set that order inside target B. Technically speaking, if for some reason target 1 must run before target A, you probably should put that dependency in target A.
Right. That's what I was just thinking about. At a certain point, target 1 and target A are probably going to be more complicated than this. They're the ones that know best what they need in order to run. So.
But you'll get a lot of times where you'll have one target that depends on many targets that are just helper functions, essentially, helper targets. The order of them does not matter. Right. So you can just kind of drop yourself into the mix here. So here, this would say target A, needs target B because it's going to print out here. Right. For example, I want to print out the message. I want A to be set. Therefore, I'd want to make sure that target 1 is run. So if we run this, we set again target 1, target A, value of A and 1. And now target B doesn't know the order. Say target B doesn't know the order A or 1. It's like, I don't care what order you guys run. I just need you both to have run. So it puts it in the order that it thinks is good. Target A and then target 1. Well, target A knows it depends on target 1. So it's going to make sure that it gets target 1 run before it. And target B will then make sure that target 1 gets run before it. How many times is target 1 going to get run?
Once.
Correct. Target 1 gets run once. And it is still in the correct order because target A needed it before target 1. Now, here's something I haven't tried. Because this is a live show, let's go ahead and try to break something. Let's say target 1 depends on target A, and target A depends on target 1. Clearly, this is a problem because they'll end up in a loop. I don't know what MSBuild does in this case. If you create a loop, I expect an error, I think.
Yeah, I would bet that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it gives us a graph. There's a circular dependency in the target dependency graph involving target A. Since target 1 depends on target A, the circular is target A, target 1, target A.
That's actually, I mean, it's kind of
That's a nice little ASCII art.
Yeah, it's a a bit of a large sentence to swallow, a couple of sentences to swallow there, but it's actually a really good error message.
Bob is a connoisseur of error messages. For those
I do like a good error message.
Okay, so we have now the ability to create multiple targets inside a project file. We can specify which ones are the defaults. We can specify which ones run, and we can then specify the order of them if they have dependencies between them. All right, so I'm going to leave this. Now I have the question, what happens, name equals target 1. What happens if I define a target again? Property group, please. Oh my goodness, what is this? Did that really put that in there? It did. What is that IntelliSense? And I'm going to say, okay. I have created target 1 twice, 2 of them. And you know, because we'll want to see this soon enough, let's go ahead and put our printf in it as well. I want you to be thinking right now. Second target 1 was here. All right. What's MSBuild going to do? Is it going to error on me? Is it going to run the first one? Is it going to run the second one? Is it going to run both of them? What's it going to do?
Second one.
The second one?
That's my bet.
That's your bet. I'll wait a second. I'm curious what chat thinks. I'm going to give it a second. I want chat to kind of think through, go, all right, so am I getting an error? Am I getting the second target 1 or the first target 1? Or am I getting both of them to be run? Those, I think, are the full set of options available for when I run it. So if you have an idea that Eugene's expecting an error, yeah, all right, I think error is a good guess. Anybody else? Zach and Martin are like chilling. I think Martin's got dinner. He's like kicked back on the couch, too far away from the keyboard. Anybody else? All right, just Eugene's going to go with error. I'm going to run it now, see what we get. Okay, here we go. When we run it, all of you that were too afraid to put your guess in, and we'll see what we get. The answer is the second one overrides the first one. No error, no message, no nothing. You get the second one is the one that you get printed. And
the reason I thought that is because of a more complicated scenario with, what do they call it? Before build?
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of targets that come from like the C# targets. Yep. And they're designed to be overridden.
Yeah, so I am disappointed to see that targets does not get them in the correct order now, because target 1 is not first now, because the one it's actually going to run is the second one, which is the one at the bottom after targets A and targets B. But you can see here, if we run this after seeing the targets and we run the build, that target 1, second target 1 is here. Notice the value of A is target 1 set me, the second target 1 set me, second target 1 set me. So this allows you to override targets that are defined before your targets are defined.
Now, that doesn't make a lot of sense inside one project file, though, does it?
It doesn't make a lot of sense in one project file. So, Bob, I have a question.
All right.
We're a half hour in. We've covered a lot of stuff on targets. Do we stop here for the day or do we continue into imports? You're making the call today. Have we loaded everybody's brains up or do we have enough to toss in imports?
See, actually, I think just because you did that override trick, imports is where that happens. So,
all right, let me do one more thing. Let me do one more targets thing. Let's call this target X. It's not going to do anything other than print a message. So you have the depends on targets here and everything, but you can see that, hey, if target B depends on targets A and targets 1, and these are already defined, then if you want to like get target X in here, like after B or after A or something, you have to go jump in and update these targets up here, which may be hard if you don't want to like start messing with everything. So there's kind of a go-to switch or a way of breaking into the graph that you can do that you can get that's called AfterTargets and BeforeTargets. So you can specify that your target comes after these other targets. You know what? We're not going to do imports today. I'm going to do this and I'm going to do one more thing.
Stay on target. We're too close. Stay on target.
Okay. I think we're going to call it good. This went deeper than I thought it would, and this is good though. All right, so target X. I want target X into this mix, and I don't want to mess with targets A or B, so I could just say run targets after targets target B. So I am essentially have, again, target B is my default target, so it's going to run targets A and targets 1 that are defined up here. Targets A is going to make sure that target 1 runs before it. I got rid of the second override one. And now we're adding this target X into the mix that's going to attempt to insert himself into the world without changing anybody else. And we do into clear screen, MSBuild. And notice now targets 1, targets A, target B, and target X ran after target B. Kind of cool. It's a way of kind of shoving yourself in the world. Now I'm going to change this to before targets. And this is where it gets tricky. We're going to run a few of these because I don't actually know where they land. And I'm sure it's deterministic, but the order that you get put before target B may not always be what you expect. Technically, this just says you have to...
like Wix.
Yeah,
right?
you have to run before target B, but that could be before target A and target 1. It doesn't say when before target B. So I don't actually know where target X is going to run right now. So while this is a really nice way to jump into the middle of a graph, it's hard if you're trying to get into a very specific spot. So let's try moving it around a little bit and see how precise MSBuild is. And by the way, I haven't seen anything that documents that it says exactly how this is done, so I suppose it could change from version to version as well. So I want you to kind of see this as an interesting way of messing with targets and play with it. And this is actually probably the best case possible. So we got target B was the one we ran, target 1 and target B ran, target 1 ran, target A ran, target X ran, and then target B ran. So X ran right before B.
Which makes sense that it would try to put it, as close as possible. Now, of course, Wix is the same thing when you're scheduling actions.
Yes.
So my question from knowing that bit is what happens if you have two targets that try to go before the same target.
Right. So let's see if we have target X before target A, how close does it get? And so it inserts it, the before targets went before the depends on targets, which is pretty good. Like that's a pretty good spot for it. Now, if we say after targets and we go right after A, does it go before B? I'm going to guess it does. I'm going to hope it does. And it does. So it turns out that the before and after are looking, at least at this time, to be pretty well scoped within the space. So this is a way of kind of inserting yourself in the world, but it can get tricky when you have more complex graphs. So I wanted you to know about before and after targets as a way for your target to jump in on a whole bunch of other targets in the world. Eugene asks, is there a way to find out that I have some overridden targets in my project? And I'm going to look for the answer to that. I don't know that there is a good way to do that. Okay, I want to now do this one more thing here. I keep saying that. Target B, target X. All right. Oh, I got it quoted again. Well, backticks, I don't know. Backticks they're not syntax highlighting. Single quotes worked last time. So I'm explicitly saying run target B and target X. How many times will target X run?
1.
It'll run one time. Interesting. Look at that. I said after targets target A. It now ran at the end. By
Which
me
is
specifying
after A.
the command line. That surprised me, by the way. I did not expect that to actually happen.
Yeah, no, yeah. I would expect the after targets to take precedence over the explicit ordering.
So if I put target X first and then I run target B, target X is saying, hey, run me after target A. But I'm explicitly going to run target X now at the beginning and then run target B. Overriding all the other errors, or all the other orders, but my depends on is still in place. So now I do this, and notice target X ran first, and then the other 3 ran, and target X did not run again after target A. I explicitly called when target X would run, and it did not stick to its after targets. So this is important to know. A target will only run once in your build. So if you have, well, and actually we already saw that happen here because it depends on targets. We depend on both target A and target 1. Target B ran target A ran target 1. Target A finished, target B came back. Target B did not run target 1 again. It only ran target 1. The whole build only ran target 1 once. So within an execution of a target 1, it runs once. Okay.
It's interesting. I mean, it's kind of, you can flip a coin, right? Do you obey the explicit ordering, or do you obey the implicit ordering based on the before and after targets? I was a little surprised that it went with the explicit ordering.
Now let's try this then. I haven't tried this either. So I'm now going to explicitly say run target B and then run target A after it.
Okay.
And when we do that, it runs target B with all the dependencies as we specified, and X is back, and it does not run target A again because within a single execution, target A already ran. It ran before B. It will not run it again later. All right. So dependencies, as we can see, that depends on targets, keeps the order of your graph hooked together. But we saw that with the after targets, that we were able to pull that and run it earlier by explicitly saying when to run it, or late, right? We can say, no, run target X at the very end, and because it is not in the depends on order, it's just say, hey, run me after targets A, because we explicitly call it out, MSBuild pulls it out and yanks it and puts it at the end. In this case, because I put it at the end, and if we run it first, it will run it first, and then we'll run the rest of what target B depends on. All right. So depends on targets is a very strong way to make sure that your dependencies run before you. And after and before targets are ways of kind of floating into the system, but you don't get as much control over them. And if you have dependencies, your depends on targets will not run the target multiple times. I'm surprised that the explicit ordering overrides the implicit execution. That seems odd to me. It's the explicit, but only for those targets that are scheduled through after targets or before targets.
Yeah, dependent targets is more strict. It's a
depends on targets.
Assertion.
The order will be respected. Now, if a target already ran, it won't run it again because it already ran it. It doesn't need to run it again. You depended on it. It ran before you, and everything is fine. These after targets, before targets are much more fungible. You can move them around inside your system a lot more. So I know there are a lot of people. I've argued for a long time. Let's say I argue with people regularly. Not regularly. That's not fair. I have argued with people in the past when doing MSBuild design that said just use after targets before targets for everything. I'm like, no, that does not create strong references. Use depends on targets everywhere that you need depends on. Like if you depend on it, call it, and know that that target will only be run once. So if multiple things in your tree, for example, target B and target A in our case, both depend on target 1, they will make sure that that target happens before them once and only once. And use that. That's the strongest way. Use after targets or before targets as ways to kind of glue yourself into somebody else's build system. AKA, it's not for MSBuild builders. It's for people using MSBuild and trying to hack their way back in. Yeah. Yeah. The trying to debug your way in and out of before and after targets can get really kooky because they will just jump into the middle of the tree. As we saw, target X just jumped right ahead of target A, even though you would have only expected target 1 to be running before target A. If you look at target A, you would never know that target X came before or after it, normally. Unless you explicitly set it on the command line.
Yeah, to an extent, depends on targets is also kind of like a documentation note.
Yes.
But also, I think it's important to remember the user of your project or your targets imports also has a lot of control because they can explicitly order at the command line.
Yep.
What gets invoked.
Yep. So Zach's asking, is logging debugging going to be part of the series? Absolutely. We've done nothing complicated yet.
Well, I'd argue our messages are kind of the moral equivalent of logging.
What you're seeing here are the basic fundamentals. These targets are nothing compared to what really exists in the real build systems. We will definitely start building ourselves up to more complex systems. But as you can see, even at the most basic building blocks with MSBuild, there are a lot of nuances in here, and there are good reasons why they exist. There are good reasons. Very few of them at this point are historical, but most of them have a reason why MSBuild behaves that way. Why is it that the last target is the one that overrides any previous target? Well, there are cases where that's what you want to do and you want to override it. And it depends on targets. And why do properties get formatted or get processed globally before items? There are a lot of cases where that actually turns out to be really helpful. And why is the order explicit with inside targets? Because when you get inside a target, you really want the order to be explicit. And if you want explicit order between targets, you have depends on targets. Why do targets only run once? Because a lot of times that's exactly what you want. You want the target to run once and then provide its results to everybody without running again over and over and over. But there are some cases where you wish targets would run more than once. We're not going to hit that yet, but all of these fundamentals are important things to know as we start building more complex systems on top of this. And given that this one topic took us 50 minutes, I think we're going to stop here, and I'm not going to try to break into imports, but we will do imports next time because that's how we start building more complex systems. One file will not cut it. I'm sure you've seen your CSproj files. If you haven't, you should take a look at them. And if you look in them, it's very possible, likely, especially on new C# projects and new Wix projects, you won't see a target in there at all. So that's what we're going to talk about next week or next month. I keep getting used to that. The next show, we will be talking about imports and how we start structuring this into more complex systems. Also, I'm trying to remind everybody, if this is useful for you, you guys have a very large build system, or you have a large Windows installer XML system, a Wix tool set that you're using, and you want questions or get answers like you could inside this deployment dojo, you can contact us at FireGiant. There'll be a link down in the description of the show, and you can say, hey, let me go reach out to FireGiant guys and get a couple hours of their time to walk through any level of complexity we go and dig into anything. So it's kind of like a deployment dojo show, but 2 hours and all dedicated on your problem. Next week is import groups. I think David will be back. He has a lot to watch before he gets back. I will definitely point him that direction. Bob, thank you very much for filling in. I appreciated your insight and your memory and some of your prompting of things to come.
I just wanted to, be part of the Fire Giant cinematic universe.
Yes, I love it. And all of you in chat are as well. Are we starting the SDKs? No, we're going to start with imports, Zach. There's a lot of talk about imports. We are doing the very, very basics because every time I do this, someone says, oh, I didn't know that. And it's really useful to know these things. So we're going to start simple and we will work our way up to, and we will get to the concept of SDK builds, but they are not the next 2 or 3 topics, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, until next month, reminder, I now have a stable schedule for these shows. The Deployment Dojo live shows here, those of you with us right here, right now, know that first Wednesday. The last Wednesday of the month, the replay comes out, and Steph has revised those, gone over them, fixed any mistakes that I made while speaking here semi-coherently. She jumps in, makes fun of me and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to watch the show a second time, or if you're not able to make it live, that's the last Wednesday of the month. That premiere comes out at the same time on that Wednesday, and then we'll be back the following week, and we will talk about imports and start building ourselves up to more complex systems. And I'll probably have to start checking into Git and GitHub here shortly so you guys can see this and we can build on it from month to month. So until then, all you guys have a wonderful month. Keep coding. You know I am. Bye.
Bye.